What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to I Do It Myself. I am Wayno. How y'all feeling? It's Friday. It's going to be a good one. Get y'all energy together because we about to have a serious conversation. But before I get to that, you know what I'm saying? Before I get to that, like my man Zip with the Drip says, make sure you hit that sub button, hit them likes, and run up that hype. Today, we talking about Alicia Andrews. So if you don't know who Alicia Andrews is, she's one of the few people that was involved with Foolio's death. Now, one thing about this channel is that I never want to talk about these type of situations in a way that's trying to highlight it or take advantage of it. I want to bring awareness. So with this video, if you got any, young brothers, sisters, teenage kids, whomever, nieces, nephews that's in the street, please send them this video because I want to, when I speak, I want to bring some sort of level of awareness to the conversation and get these young people to understand that the choices that you make, whether you feel like you right or you wrong, if you're around the wrong place at the wrong time, you will be held accountable. So this is the report. You know what I'm saying? She's on trial right now. And this is the report. She was charged with premeditated first-degree murder with a firearm and conspiracy to commit premeditated first-degree murder with a firearm in connection to the killing of, Foolio. It happened June 23rd, 2024 in Tampa, Florida. Foolio was celebrating his birthday and was ambushed in a hotel parking lot. Investigators say Andrews and another suspect, Isaiah Chance, who was her boyfriend at the time, traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa, followed the victim to 2 nightclubs, then to a hotel where the fatal shooting occurred. They describe her role as a lookout, right? So keep this in mind, young people, if you're now watching, if you're now tuning in. Just saying that you're going to be the lookout or be in a cut, you ain't going to do much, you ain't going to touch nothing. You know what I mean? If the bag drop, you just going to pick it up and meet the homies wherever. You just as accountable, right? It says a judge has ruled that her defense cannot introduce evidence of alleged prior domestic violence between her and a co-defendant as a part of her state of mind in the murder trial, at least at this point. The shooting is described by police as part of a gang feud context. Foolio was associated with a Jacksonville gang 6 block, and the killers are allegedly to be from a rival group, ATK and 1200. Andrews' co-defendants are alleged members of those groups. So before we keep going, because I'm going to play some of the stuff from her attorney, some of the pictures that's painted as her, I want to first start out by saying, for young ladies, any of y'all, I know a lot of, you sometimes you can't help who you're attracted to. You meet a young dude, he's in the streets. I'm telling y'all right now, if they not doing anything legal, if they doing anything illegal, exit stage motherfucking left. Get up out of there. Have some situational awareness, because if he's doing something, that he should not be doing, something illegal in the streets, he ain't caring for you. And at the point where he get caught, he's going to suggest that you hold it down. Like a lot of niggas do. Hold it down. How many of y'all mothers held it down for y'all fathers? And you seen your mother go through pain and strife and all types of shit, you know what I mean? Because she was holding it down for a young man that made a premature decision that took majority of his life away. How many of your brothers and sisters or cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever the case may be, have you seen go through these same situations? See, the thing about what's going on currently is we think that we don't have any prior history that tells us how these stories go. If you look in any criminal activity that involves situations like this, because we're now in this drill era. We're now in this drill era. But if you look at any situations that are involved like this, before drill existed, there was always disagreements, and people settled their disagreements with firearms. And a lot of these situations go that route. Just to read a little bit more, Alicia Andrews is one of the several people charged in the ambush killing of rapper Foolio. She is alleged to have follow him to locations in Tampa, coordinating the attack which ended in his death. Her trial is pending, and various legal motions, such as what evidence can be admitted, are ongoing. You know what I'm saying? And there's another young man that we're not talking about today, but he at one point in time wanted to be a streamer and was linking up with like FaZe Clan and all of that, right? But here's some of the prosecution's argument and opening statements.
Charles Jones. You've heard his name in the indictment. That's his face. Just a few seconds of the mountain of evidence that you will see in this case of what happened that night. Evidence that will show you clearly that these co-conspirators hatched this murderous plot not minutes, not hours, but days before this, formulating in their hearts and minds this agreed upon, collective, and confederated plan with one common agreed upon goal: death, violence, and murder. A conspiracy motivated and hatched days before, hundreds of miles away from Tampa. A conspiracy that would span through those days and over 500 miles of travel.
Now, Alicia's defense, you know what I'm saying, they're going after the fact of she just wanted to be with her boyfriend. She had no idea what was happening. She don't know what's going on. I always say being a gangster is a cold job. The toughest thing that you're going to have to face while you are in that judge's courtroom is to prove that you are just a civilian, that you are just a citizen. You ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And if you want to do that, your ass better cooperate. Because you ain't going to run with this whole, you was just running around with these niggas for a few days and you was scared, because how she's, you know, by how her defense is trying to frame the argument versus what really happened and the things that you can see in real time. She walking around wearing shiesty masks and shit. What type of girl walks around with a motherfucking ski mask on in Florida? Y'all tell me. And she's not an ugly young lady. You feel me? So why is she walking around wearing a ski mask? Why is she wearing a ski mask during this time? Why is she going to places that she just miraculously ends up where Foolio is and he just, something happens to him? But let's watch what her defense is saying in this situation.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there was no evidence whatsoever that Alicia Andrews killed Charles Jones. No evidence whatsoever that Alicia Andrews wanted Charles Jones dead. No evidence whatsoever that Alicia Andrews did anything to help that group of men kill Charles Jones. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're not just here to deliver a verdict. You are here to right a wrong.
Now, we all know that Foolio is not no motherfucking angel. He was extremely disrespectful. He had multiple attempts on his life. He antagonized people. You know what I'm saying? He antagonized people and antagonized, you know, people who had passed away. And all of these young kids, you know what I'm saying? And it's not just a Florida thing. Drill is an infection. Drill is a motherfucking infection that is cutting off, you know what I mean? It's cutting off the heartbeat to all of our kids, man, in the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? There is still a lot of hope for some of the young ones that they could turn their lives around, but a lot of them are just in too deep into this culture that does nothing but perpetuate you being some super duper gangster that is immortalized in your death, or immortalized in how many, you know, bodies you got up under your belt, or immortalized in, you know what I mean, the fear and the mystique that one day Trap Lord Ross does a fucking documentary about you. But let's carry on and watch a little bit more about what her defense says about her person and who she is and what she was doing in this entire situation.
On a weekend trip with her boyfriend, with only one agenda: to be with her boyfriend. 2, Alicia Andrews is not in a gang. 3, with the exception of her boyfriend, Alicia Andrews did not know any of those men in that group, and none of those men in that group knew Alicia Andrews. As a matter of fact, if there was some conspiracy, Alicia Andrews was not in the loop because she was not in the group. 4, Alicia Andrews is not a part of the drill rap culture, nor the drill rap scene. 5, Alicia Andrews did not have any physical evidence on any weapon displayed by the state. You would not find DNA, fingerprints, no physical evidence whatsoever linking Alicia Andrews to this case.
My gripe that I have with a situation like this is you are tied to some sort of scene in some sort of capacity just off the mere fact that you are around these types of individuals. If you're around these types of individuals and one of them is your boyfriend, then you know what type of person he is. They also said that they didn't want to administer any evidence of domestic violence, which means he probably was putting his hands on this girl as to her mind state when this was going on. But if that's your man, you know what I mean, and he's a part of that group that's a rival group to the other group, then you know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? You know what's going on. And the unfortunate situation about this is she's 21 years old. I literally have sneakers older than this girl. No bullshit. This girl is 21 years old. She hasn't even had a chance to live. You know what I mean? Live. She's just hitting the early stages of the prime of your life, and this is what she's going through. But let's watch more about her defense.
Says how many rooms? She says 2. Now, there's some assumption on Detective Ramos' side that because Alicia Andrews asked for 2 rooms for this romantic getaway, as he claims it to be, was some indication that she intended for this other group of guys to come to the Airbnb with them. In reality, Miss Andrews and Isaiah Chance were kind of on the outs. Didn't know if they were going to be on the in or the outs. So they got 2 rooms, bigger, more comfortable, some space for this trip that was to be a trip of reckoning and maybe reconciliation. Ultimately, though, Alicia Andrews and the friend or follower does not book the Airbnb. Somebody else does. Alicia Andrews did not know that somebody else books the Airbnb. She was out of the loop. Nonetheless, Airbnb booked on the way to Tampa. Isaiah Chance, and you saw the video, before he picks up Alicia Andrews, stops by Sean Gaithwright's house, where he packs up all of these bags. Alicia Andrews never sees what goes into the Impala. She's not a part of that packing process. Not in the loop. Isaiah Chance goes and then picks up Miss Andrews, brings her back to where they pack the bags, and then they head down to Tampa.
Now, hypothetically speaking, in this specific situation, she's supposed to go on this romantic weekend from Jacksonville to Tampa. And along the way, her boyfriend stops to pick up somebody else. Now, while she might not know what is being packed in these bags, she just don't know nothing. See, this is the thing about the law. The law is never about the truth. It's about what you can prove. And that's the thing, that's the narrative that, her defense is trying to drive. Now, my thing is this, right? Like, I have no horse in the race. I think that all of that drill shit is dumb, it's horrible, and it ruins youth, specifically black youth, in every ghetto of America, right? But these stories and the way they're told, and being a lawyer is a tough job because you got to represent people that you know ain't got a motherfucking chance. Now, it ain't up for me to decide. It's up for, a jury of her peers to decide. But what kills me about this is that we have more and more young people signing up for this type of shit every single day. And we can't even get them to care because how much do we actually care? See, I like to speak about these situations in this sort of context because I have friends who are coming home or have come home in the past 5 years from things that they've done 20 years ago. 25 years ago when they were teenagers, 20 years ago when they was 20. You know what I mean? Now they 40 or 43 or 44, 45. They coming home after doing these enormous amounts of time, and they're coming home broken. They're coming home not knowing how to cope with the world, how to cope with society, how to handle themselves, how to speak to people, how to conduct themselves on an everyday basis. So for me, even speaking about something like this is about prevention. I would hate to see more of our youth go down this line. Let's watch some more from this attorney, though.
The interrogation room, Detective Ramos tells Alicia Andrews that she must not be wearing a mask at the clubs to conceal, she must be wearing the masks at the club to conceal her identity because she's not wearing the mask at the McDonald's. But the reality is, Alicia Andrews thought that it was just going to be her and her boyfriend.
She thought it was going to be her and her boyfriend, so she's wearing a mask. She's wearing a mask conveniently to the two places that Foolio was followed, right? Before his life was lost. Let's watch some more.
No reason to wear the health mask, the medical mask. Then, she didn't know that Davion Murphy was going to bum rush the ride and take control of the driver's seat, let alone did she expect Isaiah Chance to let him do so. So she's caught without her mask unexpectedly. Davion's in the video, you see him smoking and puffing, and Alicia wants to say something, but she can't. Because she's afraid to say something to this guy who just bogarted the cruise, made her man get in the back seat, and took over. She won't say anything. Not because she was trying to hide herself. She didn't say anything because she was scared. Not because she wanted the guy to smoke in her face, because she was scared. They get back to the Airbnb, and a few hours later, they head out again. Go to Club Teasers. Now they're in the cruise again, and Isaiah Chance is driving. Now the state asserts that because Isaiah Chance is driving and Alicia Andrews is right next to him while Isaiah Chance is on her phone, Alicia must have heard everything Isaiah said. They got that from Juan Ramos. But that's a bad assumption. Because there's...
Objection to that comment, Your Honor. Is it proper?
Anyway, again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this are just the opening statements. The attorneys are telling you what they believe the evidence will be. That's all that it is, their belief. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Malcolm.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's a bad assumption. Because there's no way of knowing. Although the cell phone data shows that that line was open and there was communication between the two phones, there's no way of knowing whether Isaiah Chance was the talker or the listener. And even if Isaiah Chance was the talker, there's no way to know whether he was using explicit language that Alicia Andrews could understand. So, when in the interrogation room, Detective Ramos asks Alicia Andrews what Isaiah Chance was saying, and she says, I don't know. It was the truth. She didn't know. And there is no evidence whatsoever to the contrary.
Let me tell y'all what I think. I think that, Alicia Andrews was a young girl that, she was dating this other young man, and, he's into whoever he's into. And because he's into whatever he's into and she's with him, it's some sort of toxic relationship. They went and they did what they did. It's no secret. We've seen multiple videos. We've heard multiple accounts. Now, what does that have anything to do with is going to be proven? Nothing. But I believe that, this young lady has gotten herself into a world of trouble that she didn't understand the severity of when she got into that car. I think that, a lot of these young kids, because I've spoken in prisons and I've spoken to people who've been in prison from the time that they were 16 years old to they were 50, 47, 50, 55 years old. And at these times when they was, teenagers or even young adults, 20 or 21, I asked them, did you understand the severity of what it was that you was doing the day that you decided to do what you did? And they was like, I knew I was doing something wrong, but I didn't know I'd be in jail for like my foreseeable future. And that comes from a lot of different, reasonings or reasons. That comes from, lack of resource, lack of education, lack to access. But we can't sit here and point the finger at the white man this or that person that, when we see people actively partaking in this type of behavior, when we see people actively partaking in the hunting of other people that look exactly like themselves. It saddens me regardless to whom it is. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't a fan of Foolio's music. All of his music was really like negative and demonic, if you want to say that. These kids talk about, well, not kids, these young adults, they talk about these accounts of harming one another on a crazy level, detailing each moment about it. Then they get upset when the police come after them and use what they said against them because they call themselves artists. Now, a lot of them is just criminals. And I hope that one day, I really, really hope one day that this could get rectified, that this one could change, but it doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. If you're a young woman out there, and like I said, it's a young man going after you, and he's attractive, he's charming and all of that, but if he ain't really got nothing going for himself other than, if he doesn't really have anything going for himself but his name, his status in the streets, his status in the gang, if he's not trying to change that or shift that trajectory, please stay clear away from that. And young men, vice versa, start making a change, start being a change that you would like to see. Y'all be knowing what y'all doing is right or wrong. Y'all be knowing. A lot of y'all mothers taught y'all, even if y'all didn't have a mother to teach y'all, a lot of y'all know that y'all don't want to spend the rest of y'all lives in prison, but y'all make decisions and don't understand the severity or the weight of it. And then when it comes down to it, you end up in there, with somebody on your ass. Last thing she want is a stud looking like Chief Keef pressing her about what she got, down there. This is real life. This is stuff that happens to men, happens to women. I just want y'all to be safe. This is I do it myself. For the ones that rock with me, know how we doing. For the ones that don't, eventually will. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for hearing me out. Peace.